7, 8 o'clock in the morning, you're still with the family, nobody's eating breakfast. And if you were to say, would you like me to go get you a meal? A meal? But if I bring in 4 meals and leave 10 minutes and come back, they're all gone. But if I suggest, are you hungry? No, my loved one is in that bed dying, and you're talking about hunger pains? But if I go and, see there's 8 people in the room and I get a tray of 8 cups of water with lids on them and bring them in the room, thank you, thank you, thank you. But if I say, do you want water or coffee? Oh, no, thank you. No, thank you. So there's a way of kind of meeting that, precluding that need, rather than, are you thirsty? I just go ahead and take care of the need and bring that in, because they won't admit it. As part of the kind of reading the room, as we talked about in the last training, reading the room, noticing things, seeing what's going on, and then it kind of frees them up. It's funny what, and sometimes the chaplains think, well, do I bring myself a cup of water? About even sharing a cup of water, a cup of coffee together, okay? It brings that fellowship time together. Other employees like, well, I can't drink around patients. It's like, but this is a ministry fellowship time. See the difference, the distinction of your role maybe from an employee who wouldn't sit down and have a meal together. I've found such precious ministry and taking families to the cafeteria and having a meal together. All kinds of information came out. All kinds of knitting together came at that moment of fellowshipping together around whether it's just coffee or muffin, banana, a meal, something in that moment took place. And you're like friends for life. Okay? So in this scenario, I want to explain that most Code Blues survive. We are getting really good at this, so that most of the time, caught early enough, the patients are still alive. They go into ICU and they're being treated, but they're alive. They have resuscitated, okay? But I'm going to talk to you this scenario as if we experienced a death here, okay? But most of the time I'm going to say that they survived. We don't know the whole picture medically yet, what's going on with that patient. All we know is they're in ICU, they're on life support, and it may be that they leave ICU in 4 days. It may be that we take them off life support. All kinds of scenarios from there. But most of them survive. Let's talk about the grieving that goes on. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote a book many years ago, I think it was about the 60s, that talks about these main stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. In a Code Blue situation, about all you're going to see is denial, anger, and depression. You might see a little bit of bargaining. You will not see acceptance. Okay? It won't happen that day. Okay? It may not even happen that week. So what you're going to experience is, first is, let's say there's a death, and you're asking them, would you like to go with me to see Mr. Jones? And they've already been told he's passed. And they're like, it can't be, it can't be. And they're on the phone talking to somebody and telling the relative that can't be. After they've heard the nurse's report, maybe a doctor's report, and you've reiterated that again, I see this transition happening. They get on the phone and they say to another family member, honey, he's dead. And they're in denial on the phone, okay? But the person saying it, them saying he's dead, they leave the denial. At that point, they believe it. They've expressed it, okay? Well, then the next person will go, no, honey, it's right, it's right. Come on to the hospital and see. He's passed, he's gone, he's dead. So they're in denial. Different stages happen. Then another family comes in. A family member comes in. Well, have they done everything? Have they tried? No, honey, he's gone. So there's different. And then one will leave the room angry. Just can't, I'm leaving the hospital. No word, nothing. They drive off and they're gone. Another one wants to hang close and says nothing. Another one wants to ask a lot of questions. Everybody handles grief in all different ways. Culturally, we handle grief different ways. You know, in your faith group, you handle grief a different way. In your personality, you handle grief in a different way. So you're going to get a room full of people handling grief in all different ways. Now, who are you as the minister, as the chaplain, to go, well, you shouldn't be crying that much? Or you need to cry. Why aren't you crying? You're just sitting there stoic like nothing happened. Don't you care? But your mind and your emotion be going, what's with them? I don't grieve that way. Why are they grieving that way? So our own way, culturally, spiritually, emotionally, that we handle that might be different than they do. Not to say ours is right or wrong, but that's just how they handle it. So you'll see all kinds of ways that they deal with this grieving. In the anger and the depression, really, they're both the same. Depression is anger, but it's anger turned inward. It says, what did I miss? What did I do? I should have done more. I should have called the doctor. We should have done this. Another, the anger says, why didn't they? Why didn't they take good care of themselves? Why didn't they go to the doctor sooner? You know, why didn't they, the doctor, catch this? Both are anger. One is pointing and others inward. So they will handle that in a different way. The bargaining simply, you know, might be if they're still doing life support. God, I'll do anything. I'll start going to church. You know, I'll tithe. I'll go be a missionary in Bongo somewhere. You know, whatever you want me to do, I'll do that if you will solve this right now. You know, people going through death and problems do that, and those watching death do that, or watching suffering. So you'll see all that kind of playing out in different people's lives in the room. We've already talked about Mr. Jones' faith. What is his faith? Where does he worship? You want to connect them with that. If he needs the prayer for the sick, or I mean, if he's still alive, needs that. Let me explain to you a little bit about the Catholic faith and how they do it. If you have a Catholic patient in your hospital and you're not Catholic, let me try to explain Vatican II. Most Catholics don't even know Vatican II. Vatican II said that no longer will there be the last rites. They call it the prayer of anointing, where if a patient is sickly, every time a priest comes in, they can give a patient the prayer of the anointing prayer. The last anointing prayer, let's say the priest came in 2 weeks ago, patient's still in the hospital, and the patient dies 2 weeks later. They would look on their list and go, well, I gave them the prayer for the anointing 2 weeks ago. Therefore, that is called the extreme unction, meaning the prayer for heaven, that they do not need the last rites. Catholic families will say, will you call in a priest? We want the last rites. And you can say, as a knowledgeable minister, according to Vatican II in the 60s, they don't do last rites anymore. They do the prayer of anointing. Would you like them to do the prayer of anointing? Or has a priest been here during their stay? Well, I think so. But if you were to call the Catholic Church, they have a list of patients that they have prayed the prayer for. Okay? And they can say, 2 days ago, the prayer was prayed. And with that understanding of Vatican II, some Catholic patients go, okay, that's good enough then, I guess. And others go, no, I want the last rites. So we go, okay, well, we'll call a priest in anyway. Okay? Just try to understand their faith. I tell the priest, I don't know, do you explain this on Sunday morning? Because most Catholics don't know that. They're still kind of old school. I want the last rites. So trying to find what meets their need. Now you as Protestants would say, I don't need that. That's not the point. It's what they need to be able to feel like they've done everything as a family member. Okay? So you may go, well, I don't understand that. We don't have to. What we do is connect that need. So if they were Jewish, would you like me to call the rabbi for you? You know, if they were Islamic, if they were Jehovah's Witness, if they were Baptist, if they were Pentecostal, whatever, may I call your ministry in? Because they're going to do far job better than me in understanding their connection needs. Okay? Now, what if that minister's not available, or sick, or out of town? You know, then would you like me to pray with you in that way?